Welcome to You're Probably Right, the space for straight talk about life, love, and the choices that shape who we are. No filters, no fluff, and no pretending it's easy. Just real stories, honest questions, and maybe the truth you didn't know you needed. Got something on your mind? Email us at yprpodcast@gmail.com. Now, let's get into it.
Hello, y'all. It is I, MCM, and you are listening to the podcast called You're Probably Right. Well, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. So this is part 3 of episode 239. If you have got here and you haven't listened to the other two, you probably would I would strongly suggest you listen to the other two first before coming to this episode. So stop, check back. I'm only going over the last of 8 things that we are discussing to shift the whole dynamic in your life when it comes to being too nice too quickly. So we are on part 8. It's part 3, but the 8th consideration. So let me just get down to it. I didn't want to rush it or just squeeze it into the end of the last one. I guess if I had made the first one a little bit longer, then I wouldn't have had to just do a separate episode just for part 8. Leading with self-respect and not fear. Very, very, very important. And maybe it does need to be an episode by itself. As I said, I don't make these episodes for the sake of making content. I know a lot of people are doing that. As a matter of fact, a lot of people aren't even using their own voice, their own information. They're just spewing these things out every day. I guess they're making money. I don't know. Some people have AI voices just doing the whole podcast for them. I guess that's their choice, but I refuse to do it that way. I mean, I did try once or twice, and there's just no humanness in the information. Like, sometimes you just want information. Just give me the data, and I'll figure out what to do with it. But what I realized, if the data comes without, if human information, it comes without, and it's a coaching type of thing, a counseling type of thing, and it doesn't come with any emotion. You don't want the thing where you're just listening to, see how ChatGPT can talk to you and just, I appreciate your help. And you don't say you appreciate help, but it blows smoke up your butt. In other words, and I'm sorry to be crass, but it will tell you, you're right to feel this way, blah, 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 blah. And I think that's the reason why the creators of ChatGPT have actually created the new one with personalities. So if you want the straight talk, if you want to be loving and caring and handle you like a baby egg, or if you want it to even actually have some attitude, but basically, the way I do my podcast up until episode 239, is that I want to actually have the humanness, me, behind it, the human connection behind every episode, so you can feel that there's somebody who has lived some of this stuff, who understand it, and who might even be going through some of the stuff that you're going through, or have been through some of the stuff you're going through. So I want you to have some connection that way. So I don't want to just spew it out there because I'm trying to gain something. At this point, I have nothing to gain from doing these except probably some self examination and maybe some therapy for myself as well. So in that respect, I think it's cool that you're listening. I'm begging you, please, to go and rate me on Apple Podcasts. I don't even know if it makes sense to say Spotify is who actually carries my podcast first. But for whatever reason, people just searching on the internet and people on Apple have given me the most, a lot of downloads and listens And I don't know what's going on with Spotify. I don't know if I'm tucked away. Somebody told me it's because I'm numbering my episodes. I really don't know. But I'm doing my best. So anyhow, if you could just please, you got to stop the recording and go and just rate it now if you're liking the stuff that I'm giving you, just so I'll do more. Like, it's give and take, you know what I mean? I give you the episodes and you press like, or you press follow, or you press subscribe, or you rate me on something. Then I know that there's interaction. I'm not just giving and giving and giving, because eventually what will end up happening is I'll just stop, because it'll be like, I don't know, maybe people are just clicking on it by accident. Anyhow, so anyway, I'm going to get to part 8 of the 8 that we were talking about, and I'm going to close it off, and we're going to be done with this little teaching, coaching conversation. All right. But before that, I want you to listen to this little thing that I talk about. I think it's really good. Now, of course, I've told everybody, and I'm saying again, just in case you're just checking in on this episode for whatever reason, maybe it becomes one of the more popular ones, so you don't listen to 1 and 2. But I cloned my voice in an English accent. So yes, I spoke in an English accent for about 30 seconds, and it cloned it. It doesn't sound exactly like me, but you know, in some ways it sounds like it's me, you know what I mean? But it may not really. I mean, maybe if I'm more relaxed, that was kind of more yardy, kind of whatever. Anyhow, just listen to this, okay? Give you a little variety.
Hey there. I see you. I see you sitting by the window, watching the street, glancing down the hallway, looking at the car next to you or the person beside you on the bus or across the train aisle. I know you spend a lot of time around people but still feel alone. Or maybe you're at home by yourself with no real outlet, because somewhere along the way you stepped back from the relationships and community you once had. Maybe you've been pulled into the screen, hours on the computer, video games, or social media, while the real world passes by. Maybe your marriage has broken down, and you're left feeling isolated because the one person you leaned on most is no longer there in the same way. Don't give up. Don't stop building the life God made you for. Family is the cornerstone. Whether you're working to strengthen the one you have, rebuild after loss, or create a new one. Surround yourself with people who share your values. Join a church where families gather and grow together. Volunteer, join a local sports team, or take a job where you can meet and talk with people face to face. You were made for connection, real, lasting, in-person connection. So keep reaching out, keep trying, keep fighting for the kind of life and relationships that bring joy and stability. I see you, and more importantly, God sees you,
Right.
and He calls you to live in fellowship, not isolation.
All right, you got that? Okay, good. It was just something. I was gonna put that somewhere else, and I don't know. I just felt lately just to place that here. I could have just said it myself. In essence, I kind of did, but I kind of didn't. Anyways, it was said, and hopefully, if it somehow pertains to you in any way, please, take care of yourself and reach out. Don't stay hidden. Don't stay closed off. Don't be a shut-in. Reach out and touch somebody. And listen, there's 8 billion of us on this planet. I'm sure you can. If you want a friend, you can find a friend. You can find a community, a group of people, something to do. Because the more you just sit there doing nothing, if you have a choice and you can get out, get out. And if you got to roll out on a wheelchair, if you got to hobble out on crutches, if somebody has to help you and put you on a park bench so you can take in some sun or sit around some other people, then do it. Whatever it takes to get outside if you can. If they got to roll you out on the bed and that's something that you can do where you live, then do it. Of course, safety is first, right? Or if you can invite people over, or if you can even be in a group chat, you know what I mean? Just something to keep your mind and your brain working and moving in different ways. Keep that elasticity going so you can function in a healthy way, okay? That's all that's about, really. All right. So 8, leading with self-respect. Okay, here we go. And somebody I think I said the title of this, right? This episode is episode 239, part 3, being too nice too quickly in a relationship, okay? Just to make sure we're all on the same page. Okay, let me get to where I was. This document. As I said, I will email you. If you do email us, email us at YRP Podcast. Actually, not YRPpodcast.com, but if you email us at YRPpodcast@gmail.com, I can send you, I mean, if there's too much response, it's going to be difficult, but I'll do my best to send you the document if you want to read through it on your own. It is long, so, I don't know that you really want to, but it's here, it's read, and I've actually added a little sauce to it. When I'm reading it, I'm not always technically reading because I'm adding my 2 cents on what I've created already. So, yeah. All right. Ready? Let's go. And by the way, the English, the English accent, the little AI there is just for fun. I said, I have a lot of family. Probably most of my family on this planet probably live in England. I live in Canada. And I don't know, I like the English accent. I just wanted to see if I could clone my voice in another language or another another language. Well, I've done another language before, and it does sound like me, but the accent, I think it doesn't sound like me that much. I think the reason why it sounded like me in different languages is because I actually type out the words in another language so it speaks it properly. Whereas this, unless I was gonna phonetically speak out all of the English, the British accent of English, I don't think it would do it properly where it exactly sounds like me. So that's something to do, but again, I was just having fun with it anyhow. All right, so let's go. Okay, so leading with self-respect and not fear. Fear is a big thing, guys. Fear will have you doing all kinds of stuff. Okay. At the core of all these points lies a simple but profound shift. 8 shifts, right? Moving from a mindset of fear to a mindset of self-respect. When our actions in our relationship are driven by fear, fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of losing the person, we end up behaving in ways that are not true and not authentic. It's not our true self. We overgive, we over-apologize, we over-accommodate, and generally overextend ourselves in general. Not because it's genuinely what we want to do, but because we're desperately trying to prevent the worst. And what's that? Them leaving. Another disappointing relationship, an end to a relationship. Maybe it's embarrassing in your friends. Maybe your friends are gonna be like, oh, you're talking to another guy? Or you're talking to another girl? When are you ever gonna settle down? When is somebody going to be good enough? I know these are things that that play in people's minds. Play on your mind. Play in there too. So you're trying to prevent them from leaving, from that happening. It's like living in a constant preservation mode rather than an authentic living mode. Thinking about the energy of a fear-based behavior. It's heavy, anxious, and frankly, exhausting. Have you ever been caught up in a loop? I can tell you, I've been caught up in a loop before. And you're just doing, and it's out of fear because you're worried about somebody leaving you. You're worried about somebody kicking you to the curb. You're worried about somebody saying, oh, well, it's over. And, many of you who are listening have probably been in those relationships where the other person just seemingly doesn't care. If you take too much bed sheets 3 times, the relationship could be over. Like, you're literally walking on eggshells. You're better off letting them go than letting your time and your life blood go. I'm telling you, I don't know what the situation is, but nip it in the bud from your end, at least. At least give it your relationship a chance to grow. You can't just be cowering at every situation and working under a place of fear. It doesn't work. You won't be happy. There's no chance you'll be happy. Or maybe there'll be 0.5 out of 100 chances that you might be happy, the other person might change. 0.5, and that's probably high. Not 1, 0.5 probably. And I don't know if you know the person will just say, oh yeah, well he changed, and maybe they're lying. Anyhow, if you're constantly walking on eggshells, constantly monitoring your partner's mood to adjust your behavior, to do more, constantly sacrificing what you want to keep them happy, how attractive do you think that energy is? It's not very energy. It's not very energy. It's not very attractive at all. And it's not sustainable. You're going to slip up. Sooner or later, you burn out or burst out, maybe in an emotional breakdown or fight. See it all the time on those cop videos. It was the straw that broke the camel's back, and it was like he left the toilet seat up again, so I finished him. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you never know which way it's gonna go. You know what I mean? We have brain cells, we have feelings, and something might snap one day when you're living a tortured life. So fear can torture you. And, another partner or an avoidant partner in particular can almost smell fear-driven behavior immediately. They might not label it as such, but they will feel the subtle pressure it creates. Every time you sacrifice a bit of your truth or dignity just to keep the peace, you send the message that your self-worth depends on their acceptance. For someone who already fears being needed too much or being trapped, this is a huge red flag. It makes them pull away even more. It's crazy. I'm not going to read it over, but you probably need to listen to that over again. You might. Not everybody, of course. So what does it mean to lead with self-respect and instead of fear? It means your decisions and your actions in the relationship come from a place of knowing your value, honoring your own needs, rather than from panic about what the other person might do. It's a complete flip of that script, actually. For example, fear-based, you might think, I have to agree to this arrangement, say an open relationship or a last-minute plan change, even though I hate it, or they'll leave. Self-respect, you would say, if you were in self-respect, you'd be like, if this arrangement doesn't work for me, I can say no or walk away because I trust that I'll be okay and I deserve what aligns with my values. You are a person too. Fear-based, says, I'll put up with this behavior because I'm scared of being alone. I'm scared of trying to find another person. This is my kid's father, my kid's mother. My parents will be embarrassed. Self-respect, you says, I don't want to be treated this way and I'm prepared to be alone rather than in a situation that hurts me. Your feelings matter. And maybe this was, the whole thing that I wanted to say. And again, I apologize for how I was reading this stuff in the last 2 episodes. I'm not the best reader, but I know it's important information that you need. And again, I could have used my AI voice, but it's like, it's important for me to be here with the listener. You know what I mean? I know everybody doesn't feel that way. And I happen to have the time also because I'm on a little vacation right now. So I have the time to be doing 3 episodes in one day. Whereas when I'm working, I don't necessarily have a time. I could on one day of the week, but I've been like putting these things out pretty regular, which right now I feel really good about. Anyhow, leading with self-respect doesn't make you cold or unfeeling. In fact, it makes you more genuine. You're you. You still care deeply. You still love fully, but you don't abandon yourself in the process. You're willing to show up and give to the relationship but you're also willing to walk away if it consistently, that's the main word there, consistently requires you to compromise your dignity or your well-being. That combination, open heart but strong backbone, is incredibly powerful, right? You have an open heart, but you also have a strong backbone. When you stand in self-respect, the other person actually can relax more. It might sound strange, right? But consider, if you are solid in who you are, the avoidant or the other partner doesn't feel like they're responsible for propping your self-esteem up all the time. Every yes you give is actually genuine. So you're giving out the proper message. You're communicating properly and effectively, not something you're pressured into out of fear. That makes your love feel like a freely given rather than an obligation or an act of desperation. It also signals that being with you is a choice for both of you, not some trap. You're nobody's slave. You're nobody's carpet. You're nobody's doormat. You're trying to ensure them, you're not trying to ensnare them, in a trap. In turn, this makes them value those yeses even more. Self-respect also brings stability to your emotional world. When your entire mood doesn't rise and fall on the waves of your partner's behavior, you become much more grounded. You're not freaking out over every small shift. That steadiness is, as we mentioned, it's magnetic. It allows the other person to relax because they no longer feel like they're responsible for your emotional state. Instead, they see you as a whole, centered individual who can love them without losing yourself. That's the kind of person they can actually envision a future with, because it doesn't entail the fear of, oh no, if I commit, I'll have to carry this person's emotional well-being on my back for the rest of my life. In practical terms, leading with self-respect might look like this. You set boundaries and we discuss. You speak up. Sorry, I just want to make sure this is good. Hold on. Okay, 17, thank God. Sorry, it was telling me that I was on page 9 of 19. I was like, what? No, I'm on page 17. Okay, we're on our way, people. Let me start that again. In practical terms, leading with self-respect might look like this. You set boundaries, as we discussed. You speak up, as we discussed. You also allow space, as we discussed, even at the risk that the person might not like it. It's being okay with, if being true to myself pushes them away, then that's not the right match for me anyway. It's tough. I know it's tough. It's tough, but it's real. You no longer act from a place of, how do I keep them? And instead from, how do I honor myself while I'm with them? Ironically, when you embody that energy, the dynamic often changes for the better. They don't stay because you've twisted yourself into a pretzel to accommodate them. They stay because your presence is genuine, strong, and compelling, and it matters. They stay because they want to, not because you've made it impossible for them to leave. You didn't trap them in some funny way. And the different ways people trap other people. Your self-respect basically communicates, I am offering you love, but I'm perfectly capable of standing on my own. I hope we walk together, but I won't chase you down the road if you turn away. That vibe is very different from, please don't leave, I'll do anything. If you catch yourself there, and if you've been there, you're in a world of hurt. You're in for a world of hurt. You'll be agreeing to things you would never tell your kids to agree to. You'd never tell your best friend to agree to. You'd never tell your sister to agree to. You'd never tell your brother to agree to. You'd never tell your mother to agree to it. So why are you going to agree to it? One big aspect of self-respect is knowing that, that your needs, standards, and well-being are just as important as the other person's. It sounds obvious, right? But when we're in fear, we often prioritize the other person's comfort way above our own. To shift out of that literally reminds yourself daily. You have to remind yourself daily. My feelings matter. My feelings matter too. My life matters. My life matters too. You might journal or affirm, I am worthy of the love that I am looking for. Why? Maybe journal it. I deserve to have my needs met just as much as I strive to meet my partner. Isn't that where you want to be? Don't you want to be somewhere where somebody else also wants to strive to meet your needs and you strive to meet their needs? By internalizing that, you start to show up differently. You won't so readily put yourself last or expose yourself to all kinds of trauma, different types, because you like to give, because you like to do for, supposedly. And a good partner will notice and appreciate that balance. A bad one will resist it, in which case, again, good riddance. And they'll leave. There are those people, and you know who they are. They will leave. Often they will leave because they're not right for you. And a lot of those people who do stick around when you're twisting and contorting yourself, they're just sticking around and waiting for someone else who will stand up to them. Leading with self-respect is also what allows you to truly give authentic love. Because when you're not acting out of fear and affection, any affection or kindness you offer is coming from an actual real place. It's not made up. Not from a place of trying to secure the relationship. This kind of love doesn't come with a chokehold. It's more relaxed, it's confident, and it's attractive. And it's something to be desired. It's the difference between chasing someone to keep them from leaving versus living in such a way that they choose to stay every single day. And that choice, when someone freely, actively wants to be with you because of who you are, not because of what you're doing for them or what you're giving them, not out of fear, is the foundation of a healthy, lasting connection. To practice this shift, notice when you're about to make a fear-based choice. Pause and ask, if I respect myself fully, what would I do right now? It might be something like I'd speak up about this issue, or I'd take the night to myself instead of anxiously checking in on them, or I'd say no to this request that makes me feel uncomfortable. Little by little, act on those self-respecting instincts. It will feel empowering, and you'll likely see a positive change in how they respond to you as well. Maybe you have friends that have been speaking in your ear. Listen, that's disrespect. Why are you taking that? You would never tell me to do that. Why are you doing it? Listen to those types of friends. They care about you. Remember, at the heart of everything we've discussed is being too nice when it means sacrificing yourself. It will not build the bond you want. Trust me. It might feel like you're maybe you're in a place where you're like, well, maybe they'll stay for 6 more months, or maybe I'll get a couple more good years. Maybe you're feeling, I'm over the hill anyway. Nobody else is going to want me. Yeah, but why do you want someone to be around you if they're torturing your very soul? Think about it. Your time could be your own, or maybe you're worried about finances. I don't know. Maybe you have to look into living a different living situation. I don't know what is holding you up. But fear is not the answer. You can pour endless love and patience into a relationship, but if it comes at the cost of your boundaries, your choice, your voice, your self-worth, it won't create healthy intimacy you're longing for. And you might be left when you don't even expect it, and you've still given all that up for nothing. In fact, it often does the opposite. It reinforces their fears and leaves you feeling unseen and unappreciated. The real transformation happens when you stop acting from how do I keep him and start living by how do I honor myself? How do I honor God? When you lead with self-respect, you no longer feel the urge to control or chase. You can let them have their space without the fear that you'll disappear if they're not constantly validating you. And ironically, that very freedom, knowing you're with them by choice and not out of fear, makes them feel safest and most drawn to you. It's a win-win. You get to be authentic and at peace. And the connection that forms, if it does, is based on genuine attraction and respect, not fear and obligation. Here's my closing thoughts. Listen, we've covered a lot of ground in these 3 parts. From the pitfalls of overgiving and the importance of boundaries and embracing silence, maintaining your own life, speaking up, allowing distance, demanding respect, and ultimately standing in your self-worth. These shifts are all interconnected. Together, they break the cycle of chasing someone with niceness and getting nowhere, and instead pave the way for healthier, more balanced love. If you take one thing away from this episode, let it be this: your worth is not defined by how much you give to others, but by how deeply you honor yourself. Being kind and loving is wonderful, but it should never require you to abandon yourself, to become nothing, walking on eggshells, a slave in your own home. The right person for you will be drawn in by your authenticity, your self-respect, and your balanced love, not by you sacrificing everything to make them stay. Trust me, I've been there. I encourage you to reflect on your own relationships, your own patterns. Do you recognize yourself in any of these scenarios we discussed? It's okay if you do. Awareness is the first step towards change. Maybe you've realized that you tend to, people please and tiptoe around avoidant or just another partner, or that you've been afraid to set boundaries. That's a great insight, because now you know where your work lies, what's in front of you, what you need to do. Change might feel uncomfortable, and it usually does. You might worry, what if I start doing these things and they don't like it? But remember, if living in a healthy, self-respecting way scares off someone, that person was not capable of giving you the love you deserved right now anyway. By changing course, you're not really risking a good relationship. You're risking a bad, imbalanced one. And that's a risk worth taking. You don't want to open your eyes one day all wrinkled up and tired and old and maybe really, really out of the game and say, man, what if I just respected myself enough to say no to this or that? You don't want to be that person. And maybe you are that person, and now you're just trying to work out how to deal with your life without a partner for whatever reason. For those of you who implement these shifts, you may be surprised at how dynamic, how things can change. Often an avoidant who truly cares will respond in a positive way over time to a partner who has self-respect. They'll feel more attracted, more at ease, may even become more secure and giving of themselves because you've set a grounded tone. And if they don't, you will have lost the tug of war you were always losing anyways and gained back your peace and self-esteem. And you've got other stuff to do, other places to be, other people to see. Be patient with yourself in this process. These habits and patterns don't change overnight. You might catch yourself falling back into too nice mode now and then. That's okay. Just notice it without harsh self-judgment and, course correct. Maybe you'll have to re-listen to this episode, or maybe just this piece, or maybe part 1 or part 2, or jot down some key phrases that resonate with you. Maybe you have to write a journal. Maybe you have to start a podcast for yourself, even if it's just private. My thoughts on self-respect. Who knows? Listen, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final dose of encouragement. You deserve a relationship where you feel seen, heard, and valued, just as much as you value the other person. You deserve a love where you're not walking on eggshells or begging for scraps of affection or breadcrumbs, but where love is freely given and reciprocated. The kind of relationship isn't built by being nice in the sense of self-sacrificing. It's built by being real. Real in your kindness, real in your boundaries, real in your needs, real in your self-love, and real in your love for others. So, next time you catch yourself thinking you need to earn someone's love by giving more of yourself or more of what you have, whatever that is, maybe it's just time, more than you're comfortable with, pause. Remind yourself, the most powerful love I can give is the love I give myself. Put your mask on first. The plane's going down, breathe. And then you can help somebody else put their mask on. When you're doing it from a place with all the oxygen, all the strength that you need to operate effectively. When you fill yourself up with self-respect and self-care, the love you share with another is healthier and more likely to be returned in the same way. Anyhow, guys, thank you for spending this time with me today. If this message spoke to you, if it made you pause and reflect, that's the first step towards real change. Feel free to share this episode with someone that might need to hear it. It might not be you. Maybe you're just listening because my voice is so beautiful. I don't know. Just joking. Sometimes just understanding these patterns is a game changer. And maybe you can just teach this to someone else, right? Remember, your journey matters. Your growth matters. Until next time, take care of your heart. Protect your peace. And never forget that the most powerful love you can cultivate is the one you give yourself first. When you lead with that, the rest will follow. You've got this. Take care, and I'll see you in the next episode. And listen, you matter. Don't spend your life wasting it on something that you know is not working. Don't try to scrounge for a couple more days, a couple more years, a couple more interactions. Anyway, I'm MCM, and take care, okay? Till next time. Anyway, also check out some of my other episodes. Again, they're not all for everybody, but again, there are 239 now with, I guess, a couple that have few parts in them. So probably more like 250. But anyhow, peace out. See you again. Remember, email me, or you can like, subscribe, rate, all kinds of stuff you can do to give back. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm getting any money from this thing, you know? All right. Take care now. Hey, come check out You Probably Right podcast. Society is getting more unpredictable every day, but at the same time, predictable in its unpredictability. Say that 4 times real fast. Come with me as I attempt to find clarity in all the fog while staying way outside the box and kicking the box way down the road with my size 12 ducks. I use the Bible, experience, education, fortune, misfortune, life's lessons, life's mistakes to sort through all the mess. I talk about news, God, God, self-help, sports, sickness, health, music, parenting, love, humbleness, hurt, pain, joy, and all the things that might make you say, I never thought of it that way. Hopefully, anyway. Also, I take a stab at answering tough and not so tough questions, and all the while understand that, listen, sometimes you end up in the hot seat and there's no thermostat. Well, that's how it is here. And because there's no topic, very few topics off the table, Torontonians will understand that Doug Ford reference there. Hopefully the podcast will be helpful and uplifting. And hey, maybe you'll find your own private Idaho here somewhere. Hope to see you soon.